Hey, this is Pelle from the Hives. You're listening to the Leake in Review.
Now forget everything that you thought you knew from the shed of dreams, the Leake in Review.
Hey, welcome back to the program. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the shares. Thanks for all the likes and the comments, too. Keep them coming in. Comment as much as you want. Like it, love it, hate it. Are you looking for someone in particular that you want to see brought onto the program? We're getting reached out by all the publicists, the labels, pitching us ideas here for the Leake in Review, and I'm so grateful that it's happening. That means we got some momentum. We just want to keep it going. Click subscribe if you haven't already done so. And quickly, lots of videos on TikTok, on YouTube from these interviews. So go do a search for that, Shed of Dreams, or just search the Leake in Review, because we got a lot of clips coming from this particular conversation. In this episode, we chat with Pelle from the Hives. Talk about the legacy, the career, talk about his advice to bands trying to break into this crazy, wild music industry. Talk about work ethic. Talk about when is it time to hang it up. Hives have been doing this for about 35 years. Bigger, better than ever? Absolutely. Got to mention this quickly. This interview was recorded on location at History in Toronto. The Hives were in town for 2 sold-out nights. We went down there, and it was a kind of a last-second thing, I think, where they granted us the go-ahead, which was super awesome. So we kind of got a little bit scrambly, but I think we know what we're doing. They put us in a production office at History, which is in the backstage area, but it's also right above the stage. And during our interview, the chats who were opening up for the Hives on this tour were running through some new songs. I think they actually just kind of wrote one and wanted to go play it while they had the room empty to themselves. So there's a little bit of a muffled sound that's kind of coming up. Just so you know what that is, that's the chats just running some sounds. Get ready for Pelle from the Hives on the Leake in Review.
Hi, my name is Kim Stockwood. I am a proud Newfoundlander and a Canadian singer-songwriter. In a landscape where many lack access to health benefits or employee assistance programs, the Unison Fund serves as a lifeline of hope for musicians and music industry professionals facing medical emergencies or mental health challenges. To learn more about Unison and their programs, please visit unisonfund.ca.
Hey, this is Pelle from the Hives. You're listening to the Leake in Review.
I like when stuff works out great. It's one of my favorite things.
One of is it your favorite time of day?
Now.
No, your favorite time of day is the great time when things are going great.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen every day. It's the problem. But I do like when it happens.
I noticed something in the Hives recently, and that is there's a part in your program where everything seems to pause. And I was just wondering if that is you need to pause so everyone can catch up to who the Hives are.
Yeah, it's like a moment of reflection.
Almost the speed of sound.
Kind of like that. It's there's like a sensory overload that happens during the show. You need to give people time to reset.
I also understand that you had a reset just the other day where you actually got to stay in a hotel room for one night and get a good night's sleep.
I did. Didn't sleep much, but I did stay inside a hotel room for pretty much 24 hours.
And that's a rarity for a touring band.
Yeah, it is kind of. But I mean, and sometimes you have a day off and you really want to do stuff because it's fun to do stuff. And sometimes you're so exhausted you just gotta like be catatonic. Well, which did help, you know.
Well, the Hives are lucky though because you don't have to go see every city again because you've been to every city
3 or 4 times.
3 or 4 times over the last 3 decades.
Yeah.
So
even like the last 5 years, pretty crazy. Like we've toured so much the past couple of years that I feel like we've been in Toronto maybe 3, 4, 5 times.
I think you've done more touring in the last, like you say, the last few years than you have in maybe a previous decade.
Probably.
It's like you're making up for lost time, but I don't think that there was lost time. I think that people, again, are maybe catching up to who the Hives are.
Yeah, I mean, there's... I think it's also like... Rock and roll is kind of word of mouth. Like, there's people who think you can like have a hit and it'll be sorted and all that stuff, but an actual like kind of rock, I don't know what to call it. I don't want to call it a career. I don't want to call it a legacy. I don't know what to call it, but a rock journey, if you will, is long. Like, you think it's like a young man's game, and it's, you know, you flash in the pan over and out, like do one record and disappear. But anything in rock and roll that I feel is worth done now is a long stuff, like, you know, Rolling Stones, AC/DC, the Cramps, the Ramones, like all those bands that we liked kind of just keep going for a very long time.
Well, you're right in the sense that when the Hives first became a household name worldwide, when things first take off, that's the infancy of the Hives, call it, where you just started, but the legacy is now where you've become established. You've got your time on stage. You've developed these relationships with your fans. And I don't think a lot of young bands can comprehend that.
No, I think if you knew how much there is to do, you probably wouldn't start. You know, it's like kind of all things are kind of like that. Where, but I don't think we thought of it as like in terms of what we give and what we get. Like, we just liked doing it, and then we were doing it, and we kind of kept doing it. But it's a much longer game than previously thought.
But you're doing
and also, like, what you're saying is like when the infancy of the Hives, when we became popular, we'd been a band for like 8 years at that point. So it wasn't really the infancy. It's just that, like you say, maybe it always takes a long time for the world to catch up. Because I also feel like we were a band that existed and we did this stuff and we were interested in it enough to do it ourselves, regardless of anybody listening. And then kind of when we became popular, you know, it gave us the opportunity to do it way more. But it was always kind of something we would do regardless. But it's such an unbelievably kind of, like, we've been a band for 34 years. It's pretty silly, man.
I like that you approach that as we were going to be doing it regardless. I say to bands all the time, if you were going to treat it like a hobby and go out and play baseball and do that on a weekly thing and enjoy it, and then all of a sudden if it starts to pay, then it's great. But if you come in the other way saying, we're not getting paid enough day one, I think your band is doomed.
A little bit. Like, a lot of bands, you notice what you're touring with bands who ask you that question. Like, they ask you, like, how are we going to make it? Or do you have any tips for how to make it or anything like that? I'm like, I mean, it's kind of the wrong mindset, probably. Like, it's you're going to have to, because you're going to have to do it so much more to get good at it than it's going to feel, it's not, if you're doing it for monetary reasons, it's never going to feel worth it.
Right. Yeah, because there's the money is going to change drastically in a young artist's career.
And it's so erratic too. Like, you can get a shitload of money, but it won't, it'll come 3 years later. It's hard to gauge. Like, as whatever artist you are, like, I mean, we've been popular for a long time now, so we make good money and stuff, but
wildly popular.
Whatever kind of, yes, indeed, we are wildly popular, but and have been for decades. But the one tip I can give, though, is like the most important thing if you're like some kind of artist or in the creative disciplines is the money you don't spend is the most important thing.
Right. Get something of value that just doesn't have a dollar sign.
Cheap. The value you get is that you get to do the thing you love doing, but it's probably not going to be a very, you're probably not going to make a lot of money, so spend very little, I think.
How is it that the Hives, though, I mean, we talked a bit about the intense touring that you've been on over the last 4 years. Have you kind of hit a different level for the band where when you're not on the road, you're kind of difficult to be with, in a sense, because you have so much energy that needs to be burnt? Or are you?
When I come home from tour, the energy is burnt.
It's done.
I'm
You're out of
burning
gas.
it on tour. that's where we're putting it in. And then we're pretty tired for like a week or two, and then we kind of get back into it, and then we go out on tour again. So, I mean, there's a lot of energy to be spent on tour, you know, and that's where it's fun to put it, you know, to be as great as you can be every night and do the show as well as you can.
Pelle, what would you say you're better at today than you were 10 years ago when it comes to the Hives? Maybe yourself and then the Hives overall. A lot has changed. Technology has changed.
Yeah.
How you travel. Mm-hmm. Venues are more expensive. Tickets are more cost of touring.
Yeah. Well, I think that patience, you're kind of better at patience. Like such a boring thing to say, but kind of knowing that it'll be fine. Like you're way more nervous in the beginning when you kind of made it and you didn't want to fuck it up. And like, how do we keep it going? But now it feels like if it's going, it's still going to go for a bit longer. As long as we want to do it, it's going to work, you know.
Right. You're not trying to impress people
I don't think I was trying. I think I was trying to do it well enough. I never considered people or we didn't think of it that way. We thought of like, what we're doing is like, it's the pursuit of excellence. And the thing we're proudest the most of it as a band is kind of the excellence over time, like for how long we've been doing it and how well we've been doing it and how good all the records are kind of consistently throughout, you know, such a long time. And that's a lot of work, but it's kind of like, we can't do it in a half-assed way because it just doesn't feel good. It's not fun.
Do you think it's easier writing songs today as the Hives than it was years ago?
Probably not, because there was a discovery in the beginning where you're like, it's the first time you go from an A chord to a G chord and it sounds cool. Whereas now you kind of know more and we've got a lot of songs and we don't want the new songs to sound exactly like them. We want them to, you know, have something of the old kind of Hives, but also be a new type of song. And so like, you know, we already wrote Main Offender. We can't write that one again. So it's probably harder. There's less room for new stuff, you know.
Do you spend more time working on the songs, do you think, as a result? Or do you just kind of know, okay, this is the lane where we got to be. We should have this.
No, I mean, we've always worked way too much on every song, I think, like fiddle with it, like
overthinking.
Songs would have 10, 15 different choruses before we settle on one. And I don't know if it's overthinking. I think that's how you make it good. You know, I think that you can make stuff on instinct, but even if we do stuff on instinct, we'll question it a little bit. You know, it's just, I think that's the only way we know how to do it. But I think there's a romance in like thinking that rock and roll just appears out of thin air and you never had to try and it's just talent or whatever. I don't think that's kind of true. Like, I know bands that work that way and I don't remember their records.
When was it that you knew that the Hives were going to be around and that you were actually going to make it in this rock and roll career? Was there a turning point?
There was a turning point in thinking that that's what we wanted. I don't think we thought that's what we wanted in the beginning. Like, we just wanted to make cool records and then disappeared and, you know, get jobs and families and whatever. But then we toured with the Rolling Stones kind of early on, and that was like seeing yourself, or like a good version of seeing yourself in the future. Like, we saw how much fun they were having, even at like 60, 70 years old, playing rock and roll. And you're like, yeah, why should they do something else? Like, everyone's complaining that they're old and should stop doing it, but like, I don't see a reason for them to stop doing it. And that's when we realized, because you don't really like, if we were engineers and doctors and stuff, we'd constantly be meeting people in our career that was older than us, but you kind of don't do that in rock and roll too much. So but through meeting, like, you know, kind of meeting legends or whatever, like, because you got to be at a pretty high level to be able to sustain it. But, you know, playing shows, like meeting Bruce Springsteen, playing with Neil Young and stuff, you meet these lifers that seem like they're happy with being kind of older in rock and roll. And then, you know, like, well, maybe I could do that. Like, maybe that's a possibility. And then from that point on, I guess we thought of it more as like a long-term thing.
Like, this could actually be a job.
yeah, kind of. And also, like, I got to give credit to, there was an electronic musician from Norway called Alan Døye I met. And he's like, oh, you're in that rock band. And I want to tell you something. Like, I figured it out. Like, the key to success in rock and roll it's not kind of burn out and fade away and stuff like that. It's just being the band from your era that's around the longest. And they had a long speech about it with me, and I was like, yeah, there might be something to that, you know.
Well, it's the greatest reward ever if you can get paid for something that you enjoy doing.
Yeah. I once said that to my grandpa, though, and he said no.
So he's an economist.
Oh, it's a different generation, you know.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you have fun on your spare time, and at work, you work. Like, that's it.
Yeah, make sure get that reliable check instead of this rolling the dice game that you're playing in the rock and roll band. Do you look at label deals now for yourself and say, boy, we can really change how a record label and we work together compared to, a lot of young bands, they'll sign like a 8-album deal and stuff like that, and they're trapped.
Well, I mean, there was a time when you got something for signing an 8-album deal. I wouldn't recommend it for anyone now because you're not even paid for it. Like, if you get millions of dollars for an 8-album deal at 19, maybe there's a reason to do it. But now it's like an 8-album deal, you get no money. They keep all the rights. It's just kind of not a good idea, whereas... And I think you got to kind of... there used to be a thing where you're like... If you got signed, that was like it. You'd made it. Like you got a record deal. Because then your record's coming out and it's going to appear in stores and people are going to buy it.
Legitimizes you as an artist.
And now it's like kind of like, no, you're going to have to be the one that believes in you the most and invest the most in your thing. And I mean, since we weren't looking for that. We weren't looking for approval. We were on a small label and then sold us to a major label. Then we signed to a major label by ourselves. And then we've had every solution, like we've owned the rights to most of the records and stuff. And there's a bunch of different ways of doing it, but they all kind of balance out a little bit. And that's, not... Yeah, recorded music has become a hobby anyway. It's not... You can't really make a living releasing rock and roll on a record. If that's all if you're not touring and not doing anything else, selling t-shirts, if you just put out records, like that's not... You won't have a salary.
You are doing the thing that I think 90% of the bands out there can't do, and that is that live performance, that get on stage and captivate a crowd.
Yeah. Everyone can do it. You just got to try harder, man. It's not...
But who do you think was kind of telling you that that's the way? Like, we need to have more...
No, no one was telling us anything. We wanted to do it this way. This is what we thought rock and roll should be from the beginning, and this is how we did it. And then, the fact that was successful, then it was kind of like, oh, the music industry turned into a live business, and that was great, like a pretty good pivot for us. But it was never by design, like we're gonna have to be good so that people pay us money to see us. It was like, this is art. This is what we think it should be. Like this is how we think rock and roll should be presented. And we used to look at pictures. It's a pretty good story about, there was a skateboarder from Sweden who saw pictures in skateboard magazines. This is I'm talking about the Hives basically, but this was a different guy and it was skateboarding. And he saw pictures of these guys who did these tricks in the magazine, and he practiced till he could do it every time. And then he went to California and he saw that they only succeeded like once in every 10 times. And that's kind of what, I think we saw pictures of like photos of The Who, and we thought their whole show was like that. And we just kind of like, oh, that's so awesome. And then we kind of turned ourselves into that, like kind of overtrained.
Making sure you can deliver 100% of the time on every song and every stage.
Yeah. Because otherwise we feel like we're cheating, and we don't want to do that. Like it's always been so like, we're going to go up on stage and we're going to kind of obliterate every band that plays after us. And that was kind of the thing. Like, we don't scare people with our band. Like, when we roll into the festival area, people are like, oh shit, there come the Hives. Like, that's kind of what we wanted. And then money came after that, but it was more about other stuff.
Well, the Hives were going to just take it regardless. It's too bad.
Yeah. There you go.
Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Now forget everything that you thought you knew from the shadow